Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Finger on the Funny. I'm, of course, your host, Logan Brown, the guy who tries to stick his finger on the funny. Disgusting. Our guest today is Andrew Wambolt, who is someone that really welcomed me in the Ottawa comedy community when I first started out. Not that I'm not in the process of still first starting out, but someone that welcomed me with open arms in the Ottawa comedy community, and I'm very thrilled to have him on the show today. Andrew does a very interesting thing with all of his stand-up sets, but particularly in the one that we're going to look at, which is another submission into the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, where he really blends traditional material with just writing on stage. He goes into talk about why he does this and how he got into the habit of doing a lot of crowd work and writing on stage, and how it actually came from the sincere place of desperation in doing anything and everything that it could take to get a laugh, which I think is really funny because it's turned into this unique style that he has where and as you'll see in the video or in the interview, I can't tell what is material and what is something that was the first thing that came into his mind as he stepped on stage and wanted to, make fun of. What got him to put his finger on the funny in the moment on stage? So I will shut the fuck up and I'll let Andrew take it from here, but I will see you back in the wrap-up. Recording in progress.
Leave meeting.
Okay, so I wanted to dive in because I was almost called it a special. You're special. Your comedy submission is great. And it's great for several different reasons. It's great for the joke content, but it's also great for some of the throwaway jokes, and it's great for writing on stage. So constructing that set, because I understand that you went with the category that was like it was like naughty bits or whatever, like talking about sex and shit. Yeah. So constructing that set, did you take all of your sex material over how long you've been doing stand-up? For quite some time, like 9 years?
Yeah, 9 years.
Okay, so over the 9 years, did you take sex material and just go, okay, I'm just going to put this all into one set? Or were you writing specifically for the bit? Like,
no, definitely, like, over the last year, I'd say, like, the stuff I did 8 years, like, for the last 8 years is all unusable.
Okay.
Like I kept all of my notebooks and everything. That's what everybody says, but it's like, hey, my penis looks surprised. That's what I have in every notebook. I'm like, that's gotta be funny. But every time I look at it, I'm like, fuck, it's never gonna work. But no, that's like in the last year or two. If I was going to write for it, I definitely would have made it less fucking insane for sure.
Yeah.
I did do like 2 or 3 jokes that night that were the first times I ever did the jokes, just because I didn't think I had 10 minutes. And I think whatever I was supposed to, I went like 4 minutes over anyway because I just dicked around too much.
Yeah. No, it's cool though. Like, I mean, for the Winnipeg comedy submission, I'm sure they took umbrage with the mountain. Well, not the mountain, but your use of expletives during the set. But it was really interesting to watch because there are obvious jokes thrown in, but there's it's very tightly weaved between like what is material that you've pre-planned and what is just you thinking off the stage or like thinking on stage. And I get a really solid appreciation, not to suck your dick a little bit, but I get a really solid appreciation for your ability to just write on stage. It's something that I don't think of when I'm watching you at the mics, because usually I'm thinking about my own set. Either it's just finished and I'm thinking about how it could have gone better, or I'm about to do it. But just sitting and watching your set, it's like, holy fuck, like half of these jokes, like 60% of this material you're thinking of on the spot. The callback to like, hey, you guys remember my girlfriend, to like she's from a different tavern, to I brought a bunch of knives with me today because I thought I was going to get stabbed. Like, it's just it's really well done.
Thank you. That part when I brought up the knives, it was very awkward. The worst, like, it just really got awkwardly silent, and I wanted to make another joke, but as soon as I said it, the vibe was, yes, somebody else has a knife and they're gonna get me. Like, just for that second, the room was tense, and I was like, okay, let's do some material here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's like the girlfriend stuff, because even when I did that set, like, I didn't have a girlfriend. I think I in fact screamed somebody's name during it.
You did, yeah.
I'll do it again. But I've been doing that for a while. Like my girlfriend, that's writing on stage, and that's like like my girlfriend goes to a different. I started doing that at a Yuck Yuck. She goes to a different comedy club. You guys don't
Yeah.
know her. But that's one of the few things that I've like written on stage and is just stuck with it. And I think the more material I write, the less believable that there was ever a girlfriend in the first place.
Right.
And it's just, if I just keep bringing her up, it gets to be kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's great. It's great. So I mean, I've seen you several times, but perhaps the viewers don't know you write quite a bit on stage.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say like that set that at the Dom, like in my head, that was so much tighter than what it came out to be. Because like most of the pandemic, I've just gone very, very loose. Like I'll have like 14 jokes that I want to do on stage, and then I'll talk to a guy in the front row and say he looks like Dave Mereg for 6 minutes, and then that's my time.
Yeah, right.
That killed, by the way. I felt so stupid. I was like, hey, do you know Canadian comic Dave Mereg? And the guy was like, yeah, actually. And I just talked about his head.
Yeah.
Anyway, what'd you say?
I was just asking about like your writing process on stage. Like in jazz, you learn scales so that not so much that you're thinking about them when you go up and you're like, oh, it's my turn to do a guitar solo or a solo, but enough that you hear a chord and then you can riff with that chord. And I feel like your set and the way that you do stand up reminds me very much of that. It's like you're searching for like that one note that goes, oh, okay, and now I know what to do here, or that reminds me of this joke, or that reminds me that's interesting enough that I can turn that into something funny. So
yeah. Okay, so that's good. And I think it's almost from sometimes being my lack of preparedness, or like, so that said, I was prepared. I was really tight in everything. Mm-hmm. But a few of the jokes, as they left my mouth, like sometimes I'll find the phrasing, like I'll phrase something in a way I didn't mean to. Mm-hmm. And that night in particular, I think I had a joke where I say, people say, do you like men or women? And to them, I say, hell yeah. Just stick a finger somewhere and keep it moving, Buster. And I said Buster, and the Buster just flew out of my mouth. I never meant to say that. And then I got a little joke off that.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I do that all the time.
All the time, people wonder if it's a man I'm into. They say, are you into men or are you into women? To them, I say, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Stick a finger somewhere and keep moving, Buster. Fun fact, you call somebody Buster, you're never going to have sex again.
Yeah, that's one of my notes actually, is the stick a finger somewhere Buster. Like the punch to that joke is just as helped by the word Buster as it is just the concept. You know what I mean? That it's just it's a funny word, like it's
yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. It's interesting to know because the use of the word Buster seems so methodically like, okay, what's a funny word? Buster. That's hilarious. I'm going to throw that right into the set. So it's interesting to know that just kind of came about right on stage. Okay. So
that's the times I've done well. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I like we in Ottawa Comedy. There's like an award show every year, and so years ago I won. The last time we did it, I won the funniest offstage, which is like the most condescending award you could ever win in your life. My peers, my heroes, some of them, like all of these people I really respect and love, they said, you're so funny until you get on stage. But I took a lot of pride in it, and I think it gave me more confidence. Because everybody's always said, like, be who you are in the green room on stage.
Yeah.
And I've always found that to be pain-inducing. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I was just shitting on your divorce or something. Like, I don't know how to bring it on stage.
Yeah.
And so nothing I say on stage is methodical. Because the last time I was methodical on stage, you know what I said? I said, I went to the club the other night to pick up these 2 chicks. Turns out I don't have the upper body strength.
I like that. I think that's a cute joke.
Hey, you were the only one.
I think that's a cute joke. Do I think that's gonna like get rip roaring applause at Ralph's? Absolutely not. But I think that's a pretty funny, cute joke.
There was a time I thought that would take me straight to Halifax, baby.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a pull a string and then your bow tie spins around type of joke. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Okay, so then I was gonna have that lead into my next question, which is just the amount of like throwaway jokes that you do on stage. It's more of like a throwaway character, not a character, I guess, that you have, but you'll say something and then you'll kind of trail off with the punchline or scream like screaming into the mic. It's often something that you do that I really enjoy it.
Ah! Fuck! Ah! Straight to vice, baby! Nobody's getting through tonight! Never. Tavern! Who's single? You guys! It's all-
Thanks. I like a frantic energy. I
Yeah.
try to, like, as much as I can do that. Like, I feel like I've had my best set when I also feel like that was the most like unhinged I've seen on stage. Like when somebody says, "Hey, that was unhinged," it's not typically a compliment, but I'm like, there was probably something, at least something really good there then.
Yeah.
Um, but it's so I'm just trying to like replicate that all the time. But it's like my favorite comedians, they feel unpredictable. You know, like I really like Chris Rock,
Yeah.
and he has his material he's doing, but he's so good and it's unpredictable. But then it's just a tough thing to narrow. If people that run shows consider you an unpredictable comedian, it's not necessarily great for a show.
Right. Okay.
So it's like trying to foster almost fake unpredictability.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep trying to riff, and I'm just like yeah, I'm writing on stage and hoping that I could hopefully use it later.
Yeah. I mean, like, you seem to have, because you've seemed to have fallen into, at least with the Ottawa comedy community and getting spots where people know to expect a little bit of the unexpected. It's the same, like Mitch Muirhead, he gets that quite a bit. Like, I've never seen Mitch do the same set twice. Much like, I mean, other than I'm not going to do the bit, obviously, because you're still working it. But the Ouija board joke, that's the only joke that I've ever seen you do twice.
Is that real?
Yeah. So it's I think it's really cool, and I think you're able to. I mean, you're clearly getting spots still with that unpredictability. So, yeah.
And what I'm working on now is trying to get spots with my material.
I'm flipping the script. Yeah.
Frankly, I think I work on it more than it shows, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well.
But it's just so much. I don't know, man. Like it sounds fucked up to say, but I've like some of the open mics I've gone to, and the way I've seen people bomb, like I see them bomb and I'm like, could never be me. Like just in that, like where you eat shit for 6 minutes and it's 6 minutes of silence. Like after, if my first two short jokes don't get laughs, I'm begging, I'm pleading, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
That's just how it started, like writing on stage. It just started from me negotiating with the crowd that the next one might be funny. Like that's truly it.
I wish I had the balls. That's so funny.
That's what I'm thinking is like it's a better form for a lot of comics to just do the material because of that. Like I'll have 8 minutes of jokes I want to work on. The first 2 minutes don't go well, and I'm like, well, I'm not about to die with this fucking ship. Let's see if I can make a funny movement or sound.
Yeah. No, and that is comedy. Like I get in my head about the material, much to the point, like I tried to be a little bit more frantic on stage when I first started, but it was overcompensating for like fear and anxiety that I had that the material wasn't good. And a comic sat me down and was like, you get a lot of laughs because you're likable and because you're frantic, but the material's not good. Write more material. And that complete.
Who said that to you?
That I will not tell you. I'll tell you off air. I'm not gonna fucking put the because it hurt at the time, but it was what I needed. And it turns out I was actually ADHD brain was popping in and out of the conversation, and that's just what I took from it. But there was many layers to that conversation that I just cultivated, but was captivated by the one little small phrase. But anyways, it helped me quite a bit, and now but I'm rigid with the material. And so much so that like crowd work scares the shit out of me. Unless it's like Dave Attell style, like I ask a question only to lead into the next joke type of shit. So, which I mean, it works for Dave Attell, but it makes me a shitty host. So that's the.
I just think it's. I think too many comedians, two of the newer generation.
Mm-hmm.
They're too focused on they're focused on crowd work too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think like the comedians that are good at crowd work, I think it's all just different circumstances right now. Like I was never like I'm going to work on crowd work. It's just literally like trying to get a laugh any way I could, because why the voice actor played Tony the Tiger, you know?
Yeah, right.
He's dead. It just wasn't cutting the mustard anymore, Logan.
Yeah. Right.
But I think it's just so much more important to do material. So I don't think you need to worry about your crowd work.
Yeah. Well, fucking thank you. Speaking of material, though, I did want to dive into a little bit of the written material, because there's some there. Well, I loved the whole set, but there's some real shining gems that I wanted to ask you about writing. First off, like how you think about things, because I've noticed specifically in that set with the material, you tend to do the same thing Anthony Jeselnik does, which is you look for the third or fourth thought, not the first thought. So, for instance, the example that I wrote down was oh fuck, what was the joke? It was the bring protection one with the gun. It's like, and then you go, none of us are getting out of here alive. Like, it's like such a, like, the joke, like in the way that you think about the joke, it's like, oh, okay, well, that ends there. Clearly that will end there. At the gun, that makes sense. That's a setup punchline. Oh, you think it's gonna be a condom? It's a gun, and then you kill both of you. And then the joke ends in a murder suicide, and it's so fucking funny. That's my favorite joke off that whole thing. I had to pause it. I rewound it. I listened to it again. I had to pause it again. It's so fucking funny.
And so you liked like the twist? Yeah.
It's like how. Yeah, I guess how'd you do that?
You know what's so funny about you know what's so funny about that is that like I forgot, like I just re-listened to that set yesterday of mine.
Yeah.
That totally was just off the cuff on stage.
Really?
Like I just I like a little one-liner, and I always thought like guns are, if you could put in space, like the outer space or guns in a punchline, I always think those are really funny.
Yeah.
So that was it, and then like I forgot that I said that. I don't think I've done it like that since.
Yeah, it's
got me pissed up about it.
It's so funny. Yeah, no, it's weird how I'm completely missing the mark, I guess, with this analysis of your set. I'm like, oh, this was written, and you're like, no, good God, no. It reminds me of like it's very similar, except that one is heavily planned out. I have that joke that's like, oh, girlfriend sent me to the grocery store and said, when you come back, you got a little something for you. And I said, like the joke is, I want to do chores and cardio, but then the extra joke at the end is, no thanks, whore. Like that punch at the very, so it's that really got me. There was the one as well that was my girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time, we could only have sex if the lights were on and there was no music playing, and I like to be screaming all the time. That's such a fucking weird joke. I love it so much.
Those few times we did it, the room had to be completely silent with the lights on. And it was crazy because I'm just so used to screaming all the time. But then you.
Logan, that's that joke I did for the first time that night,
really?
And that line, the screaming all the time, was also just like on the cuff.
Yeah, it was such a throwaway, and it made
that
me
is funny.
stop
Hearing
the
you
thing.
say it, I'm like, whoa, that was funny.
Yeah, it made me stop the fucking. I had to pause the video because it was such a throwaway. But it's so like what a weirdo. It sets it up like she's weird for wanting to fucking complete silence, and you're like, I love to be screaming all the time. Like it's so yeah.
I think I'm gonna have a tighter set after talking to you. I'll be like, oh, I had some material there.
Yeah, no, it was no, it's fantastic. And then at the end, the final joke that you have is that one where I went and I bought candy underwear, and the clerk said, "Oh, who's the lucky lady?" And you said, "No one. I'm just kind of a weird guy." Like
okay.
So what makes you laugh then? Like, because it seems that you seem to do the thing where you have to be the first one to laugh, and then you will reconstruct the material as it goes to be like, because there's some jokes that I write, and some jokes I'm sure all comedians write, where they finish writing the joke, whether it'll be a one-liner or a bit, and they go, "That's a clever take." But it seems to me that a lot of your material stems from like you have to be the first one laughing, and then you'll go and try it. And then as the joke evolves, it will become a full fleshed out either joke or bit.
I'd say that kind of tracks. I like my first 5 years or so. I was like a classic Mitch Hedberg ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was a lot of me trying, like, not really writing jokes I thought was funny. It's jokes that I thought would paint me into a box similar to him. Like, I just wanted to be a one-liner comic at all.
Right.
And it ended up being very wordplay and punny and mostly horrendous.
Yeah.
But then my bestie boo, David Haddad, started comedy.
Yeah.
It was off to the, like, because I'd kill with him, like, conversationally. And then he kind of was like, well, if you just, all of my stories were like weird takes on sex, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was just like, blah, 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 blah. So that made it a bit clear. And so I really have come to terms with, I just love kind of potty humor. Like, sex stuff is just funny, and I think it's relatable. And then trying to be the fun part, the part where I really think it's funny, is because you don't want to, it's so basic to just be a guy talking about sex.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I almost feel I have to be a weirdo.
Right.
Slash, like, I kind of am.
Yeah.
But I think that's the funny part of my set.
Yeah.
Like, sentence.
It flirts a little bit with like alt comedy almost, the way that there's almost so much misdirection where you end completely in a different genre. Like, again, I mean, that one joke about the gun and protection ends with you being a fucking the culprit of a murder suicide. Like it's like
Well, in my like, so I did comedy for 2 years, and it was pretty isolating. Like, I didn't make a lot of friends or anything.
right.
But I think it was around my third year, there was a new crop of comedians, and they became pretty good friends. Some of my best friends today. They were, however, like, I don't know if you know Laura McLean, who's in Toronto now, or Daniela.
Oh. Yes, yeah. Well, I know Laura. I don't know her personally. I only know her from the Choppy Waters. Yeah, that's which is so funny.
She's the best. She's like Miss Alternative Comic.
Yeah.
And all that is to say is I don't think I was ever on track to be like a weird comic. I think I was always going to be like a regular. Relationships are tough, aren't they?
Yeah.
But then the first real friends I made in comedy were the weirdest people I've ever known.
Yeah.
And then they were also the funniest. Like, for a while, Laura and Dan, like Ben Hoggle, they were must see as far as I was concerned in Ottawa comedy. They were like what you and Emmett and Jake Daly are now. I was like, ooh.
Oh, thank you.
And I was on the ground floor, just being a terrible comic, but they booked me on shows.
Yeah.
And so I think I just got inspired. Like, I wanted to make Laura laugh, but I couldn't say my girlfriend sucks without saying, like, so I'm gonna kill her and then myself or something.
Yeah. Right.
Laura loves jokes about domestic abuse. Tell everyone you know.
Okay. We'll do. I'll spread the word. I'll start a petition. Cool. Okay, that's very interesting. So I guess now, are you seeking influence or inspiration outwardly from the community itself, like you were in your formative years, or are you more like, okay, I'm gonna dig deep and try and figure out what makes this thing tick, and like I mean, not to call back to the title of the show, but putting your finger on the funny, how necessarily do you do it now?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I very recently have made a change from what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Last night I went to a show, like an Ottawa comedy show.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it cool. Like, I literally went there kind of like a psychopath, but I do this a lot of time where I'll go to the show literally just to laugh. And like, I try to not hang out with anybody. I'm like, make me laugh, funny man. Like, literally an audience member. I didn't like it at all. I didn't think anyone was funny. Like, not that everyone wasn't funny, but I was like, there's nobody like me. There was no fucking weirdo. And every comedian in Ottawa is truly a weird creep.
Yeah.
But there was nobody that I found was weird and funny on stage. And so I'm just thinking about that. Like, it's almost let's make it a basketball analogy.
Mm-hmm.
if you're a bench player in basketball, like if you're coming off the bench, your job is kind of to watch the game. And so when you go into the game, what are you bringing to the table? What does the game need?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just starting to see on shows, when I go watch a show, I see how I would have made the show better, how I would have made it worse.
Yeah.
Like I could just kind of start to see a bit more who I am on stage.
Yeah.
And so I am trying to like learn from the people around me, new comics and older comics. But I am definitely trying to accept that I'm 9 years in and I'm probably not going to be, I don't know, like like I wanted to be like a classic club headliner, but then seeing how some of my favorites have achieved success, such as like Mark Forward or Mark Little, Chris Young, Chris Locke, there's a different path.
Yeah.
And I just got news today that a friend of mine is auditioning for Just for Laughs in Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel very inspired.
Good. Well, that's cool.
I'm just like, shit. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's I find I do a lot of look-like jokes. I have a lot of look-like jokes, and those are the jokes that are quintessentially. These are. I saw K. Trevor Wilson do like a whole lot of look-like jokes on a late night set.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that validated look-like jokes are fine to do. Like I know people like they could be hacky or whatever, but
Yeah.
they're funny and they work. But those jokes I always do, like they're not for me by any means.
Yeah.
They're not where I think the funny is, saying I look like Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
But it's like digestible. And then for the rest of the set, the more I go, I'm trying to just be as the funny as I can be. Like what I think is actually funny as opposed to what my best material is, because my best material that works at clubs is really bad and hacky. I'm trying to just live or die by being kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah, I mean, 9 years in, you should be able to like look yourself in the mirror and be like, listen, I'm funny and I like what I do. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a hard thing to I'm sure there are lots of people that still need to give themselves the pep talk, like the "I hope I'm funny tonight" type of pep talk. So that's very cool, very cool, awesome. Well, shit, this was a lot of fun, very insightful, especially near the end, and I will I'll edit this down and I'll have it up in about a week or so. And fuck yeah, thank you for joining me on the show, Andrew. Appreciate you.
Eddie's Diner, the 29th of March.
Yes.
See you there.
Yeah, 7
promo?
p.m. Yeah, we're both on the show. Yeah, so fucking this will be fun.
Yeah. See you there. Miss you.
Miss
I'll see you tonight.
I'll see you tonight.
Okay.
Now, wasn't that great? Wasn't that funny? Wasn't that just an introspective look into the mind of a young genius? It was a lot of fun getting to talk to Andrew, and it's really cool to see his process, and I hope that you guys took a lot from this, in also, not just writing on stage, but also not taking yourself so seriously. I'm definitely guilty about for this, but I get really wrapped up in the material, and obviously the material is the most important part, but there's also a general consensus, or not so much a general consensus, but there's a common thing that I hear among specifically guys that are getting paid now full-time living, or at least a close to full-time living, to do stand-up comedy, is that they miss the fun part where you could just go on stage and say anything. And I think Andrew's really got, again, not to beat to death the title of the show, but I think Andrew's really got his finger on that aspect of doing stand-up, his finger on the funny, in that he can just go up on stage sometimes and just have fun and get a laugh. And it's not something that's so like, I mean, every comic has has that thing after they bomb, or if a joke doesn't land, where they're like, oh, fuck. But he doesn't have that as much, at least from what I can tell. He seems to just be going up there and having a really good time. And it really helps with the type of stuff that he does. It really helps with just formulating his act, and in the end, it makes him someone that I think everybody should see if they're coming through Ottawa and checking out a mic. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for checking out the show. As always, you can do the algorithm stuff, the liking, the subscribing, the sharing with your friends. If you want to come see me, I've got shows. I usually update my website quite frequently. I try to do it relatively in regular intervals whenever I get shows. So April 3rd, we're going to be doing another comedy night at Bowie's in Smiths Falls. Tickets are on sale. As I put this out, tickets are 50% sold out, so you'll want to grab those. I think we've got one table of 8 left for $100, a couple tables of 4 left for $70, and then it's nothing but single seats and sitting with strangers after that. So you're going to want to grab those up as soon as possible. Of course, you can get the tickets on my website. You can go to all the little links in the bio, depending on where you're watching this. If you're watching this on Instagram or YouTube or anything like that, you can find them there as well. And yeah, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next episode of Finger on the Funny. Peace, love, and unity. You all take care now. Bye.